I eh, I think we all know that our hobby is dying a slow death, and the best way to resuscitate it, especially whenever COVID ends, is with kids. Um, Seeing my kids operate at Ron's lab was very inspiring. We were there. We were there last week, and I got my 7-year-old, and him and Nathaniel. They must have been operating 4 or 5 hours, completely focused. They took care of most of their mistakes. They were just really, really excited. So the big question is, how do we get kids involved? Well, there's a new, well, it's not so new, but it's kind of evolving. It's a curriculum all over the country called STEAM. Now, I've been teaching a little over 20 years now, and, every few years we get a new acronym. And it's always, new wine in an old bottle sort of thing. But this time we've actually got something that can directly be applied to our hobby. And I think I've been more interested in this curriculum than I've been in any other curriculum in 20 years. So what in the world is STEAM? And then then I'll get to the bottom line, how it applies to the hobby and LAMRS. So I've got this website here, and I'll be posting all this stuff in the club. And what in the world is STEAM? And here's the fancy schmancy definition. Guidance to, basically to get kids to think and so forth and so forth. I see it as a way to help kids move into a career style of thinking, because this starts in kindergarten. And, you can see it: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And I can tell you as a teacher of 20 years that, this generation, other than the digital, how they can play computer games, quite deficient in the area of science and math. And I think, and of course, engineering. In this whole curriculum, the goal is to start moving kids in that direction. So what does that fancy acronym mean? There was STEM versus STEAM. You can read about that if you want. That's not really relevant. It's basically, let me go here. You can, if anyone's interested, you can read all that another time. But the S is for science, technology, engineering, art, and M is for math. Now, I've slowly been integrating this into our classroom the past year or two, but next year we're officially going to become a STEAM campus, meaning that our whole curriculum is going to be focused on this, and that means we're going to have access to grants, more grants. So anyways, let me go over each letter and how it applies, what it actually means. S, and I'm talking about this directly as it relates to middle school, because that's what I teach. And I'm going from the reference point of how can LAMRS, how can we get directly involved with my school? And then we can also extrapolate this, for a youth program, working with other kids or even other school districts. But I think my school is a good, maybe a good anchor point here. Okay, and what I'm talking about here is the direct, everything in education now is about standards. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. No longer I just can't teach something because I want to teach about it. It's got to, in some way, relate to a standard. However, if you're clever enough, you can You still can teach anything you want as long as you write down somewhere what standard is and relate it in a way. I've never had a problem with that. Okay, like for instance, 2 years ago, I started a historical wargaming club. And principal said, great, 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 but what standards are you teaching? So, I looked at my standards book and it was basically a bunch of math standards. Because it involved a lot of dice rolling, probabilities, percentages, blah, blah, blah. So whatever you do, you can always figure out how to make it into a standard. And of course, I've always believed that, let what you want to teach guide you, not the standards. And that, of course, is sacrilege, and I'm not supposed to say things like that. But anyway, science. This all relates to 6th and 8th grade. Electrical energy, okay? Electronics, model railroading. That should be coal, biospheres, gas and diesel. Okay, technology, of course, the vital role of technology in railroads. I mean, this is all almost like no-brainers, really. Green technology, whatever you think about that, that is the future. And, even the railroads are doing it. So, and that's a big part of the curriculum. And it's also a good way, if you do something like this, to get grants, money. Signaling, electrical wiring, digital, everything relates. Engineering, of course, how are trains built? How are mines, refineries, power plants built, and how do they all work together? I think you're kind of seeing there's hundreds of possibilities here. Challenges narrowing down things. Art, as many of you know, I had that art class I did online, and it was really focused on, airplanes, trains, and boats. Of course, math, I mean, you could spend a whole year, of lessons on relating model railroading and railroading to math. Weights and measures. Let me add that. That's a big, big standard in middle school. Velocity and motion, I should put. Okay, and think about a car card we do for operations. That's pretty much all math. Okay, what bottom line, what does all this mean for us? Okay, my school, Vista View Middle School, we just became a STEAM campus. So like when I go to my principal, and by the way, we got a new vice principal who's a STEAM expert, and she's very excited to hear about some ideas with model railroading. So what are some things we can do as LAMRS? And when I say we, I mean, there's no limit to ideas here. I mean, whatever anybody wants to do, we can pretty much do. As long as as long as it conforms to the standards, which, like, let's say you have an idea, I'll take care of that. So let's say you have an idea, I would be the go-between with the school. But let me talk about some of my own ideas and some things we've already done. Well, Ron's already done virtual tours. I mean, and I actually turned that into a lesson with my kids where we did a writing assignment. Kids basically had to write a tour of what they saw. We didn't do it until May, so it was the end of the year, but I was planning to do an activity where we could do some more focus on the power plant and the coal refinery and Ron's, anything that has to do with energy, because energy is a big middle school math standard. Coal, sun, wind, nuclear, green technology. Big, big thing in middle school. Okay, the big thing, of course, is social emotional learning. Fancy word they use, SEL, but working together on train operations and decision making. I think I was half asleep when I wrote this. Now, I'll some of these terms and phrases sound a little too technical, maybe a little corny, but I'm just throwing out these words because this is how we get grants. And when we do lessons plans, this is what This is the wording that the big shots like to see. So we can do what we want, and the kids can be exposed to this, which is our goal, to get more people into the hobby. So practically, here's some ideas I have. I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows what our school year is going to look like. Who the heck knows what's going to happen with COVID-19? We may, I don't think it'll be quite as bad as last year, but who knows? Who knows? You know, viruses are very, one of the most unpredictable factors in nature. So with that in mind, we're not going to be doing anything in person in terms of model railroading for this school year. So I want to do more virtual railroad tours. I've talked with Ron about that, and Lionel and Jim have been very helpful with this. Virtual operations. Last year, as you know, some of my students showed up to some of the operations. I think there's ways that I could get kids more involved with that. Or we could even do a special session for kids. There's also possibilities, you know, depending on the public health situation, of having small groups of kids show up to the layout. Something Ron and Lionel and I are already working on. So I got a lot of the stuff I've listed here is already done to some extent, or already being, the gears are in motion. Okay, I mean, this is kind of a fancy thing. When I wrote this, I was kind of thinking I was thinking a little too much of an education mindset, but curriculum standards, based activities integrated into the classroom. That basically, don't piss off the principal. That's what that really means. A few years ago, I was at a school called Oakview, which is in my district, and I brought some people from Operation Lifesaver, some of you are familiar with, because our school was about 3 blocks from the UP Huntington Beach branch line, the lumber line that runs every Tuesday and Thursday. Now, this school year, we're going to be at a temporary campus, because our old campus that I've been at for many years is being completely refurbished, Scandinavian style STEAM campus. Everything's being gutted. They're putting in new HVAC, thank God. They're getting rid of all the old dead rats. Everything's being rewired. The school we're going to be at is about 3 blocks from the UP rail line. So I'm going to try to get some Operation Lifesaver people to come back. And those of you that are not familiar with that, that's a railroad safety organization that works a lot with kids. They go to schools, and you always see them at the train shows. And it talks about things like, you know, don't jump in front of moving trains. Generally not a good idea. You know, they have coloring books and stickers and rulers and all kinds of neat things. Rail fanning at the branch line, literally taking a walking field trip. Of course, you know, I'm not sure how safe that is, to be honest. I would have to have other adults with me, of course. And then, you know, depending on the public health situation, there's voluntary weekend trips. Fullerton Station, a Metrolink trip to Union Station. Yeah, plenty of opportunities around here for that. Okay, I'll take questions in a few minutes, but to finish up, and I've put this in here for people to peruse. Turns out San Diego Railroad Museum, they have a STEAM program. And this is a 2-minute video, if you don't mind me. I'm going to play this. And I'm going to unshare, then reshare again, because I haven't done anything on Zoom in 3 weeks, and I forgot you have to turn the sound on.
Well, yeah, make sure you click those those optional buttons when you get on there.
And you know, Marty, for the whole year, everybody, for the whole year when I was doing my virtual teaching, At least once a day, I forgot to click share sound.
Yeah, I did it too for a while. Yes. Okay.
What do arches and eggs have in common? And why is Petco Park covered in triangles? They're naturally strong shapes, of course. Civil engineers, you know, the people.
By the way, in the middle school right now, especially at my school in the last few years, civil engineering is a big thing. It's becoming more and more integrated into our math and science classes. Very, very good news.
People who design and build railways, freeways, airports, dams, and bridges, they can use whatever shapes they want. And they use arches and triangles because they're sturdy, stable, and can last hundreds, even thousands of years. But what exactly is the secret to their super strength? In the able arch and the trusty truss, you'll conduct a series of...
Also, I don't mean to keep stuff, but not to brag, I do a whole month unit, my history class on Roman engineering.
Experiments to discover the science behind the arch and understand how and why arches can literally stand the test of time. You'll also perform experiments to learn why, in a world of polygons, nobody beats the triangle.
I certainly wouldn't be doing that next year.
Structures made from arches and triangles are everywhere, all around you all the time. And after your visit to the San Diego Model Railroad Museum, you'll know exactly why.
Like that, able arch and trusty truss. Really, that was probably fourth grade. There's no limit to where your mind can go with this. The big challenge is getting things focused. What exactly do you want to do? Here's another one that Napa Valley does. Napa Valley Model Railroad Historical Society. I mean, you can read this on your own, but some of this gets a little detailed here. But the important thing is that there's a few clubs out there doing things about this. I just discovered that Walthers has their own STEAM program, and I've got an email into them, and I'm just ask them, hey, what are some of the ideas? I want to start sharing ideas with them and hear what they have to say. Walthers is getting really big into the whole STEAM thing, and they want to promote school activities. So, I could go on for a couple hours, but I'm not going to. I just want to hear what you guys think about this. I mean, there's a lot of potential for this. And this is, let's face it, this is how our hobby is going to survive.